Hey folks, Taco here. And Taco's bonsai. This is episode 11. I know I look pretty sunburned. It's because I was welding all day yesterday, and not all the times I was able to wear a mask and efficiently get the work done. So the work's got to be done. I know it's not good for me, but I get a little bit of a sunburn or burn on my face. That's why I'm enjoying some rye. There's a gift that someone gave to me. I'm not sure if it's even visible. It says fancy taco on it. There's a picture of a taco with a mustache, a little top hat. I used to have one mustache, not top hat. I've had many tacos. So this is a gift from a very close friend of mine, Abby. So thank you to Abby. I don't think you'll ever see this because I don't think you even know I have a YouTube channel, but very, very amazing person, very good friend. Today's going to be some more introductions. Quick updates on two things that you've already seen. The first being, well, three things. First being cherry. I don't think these are all going to bloom at the same time. So I just figure I'll show it as it is. This is probably the best it's going to get. There are some blooms that have already fallen off, but this is my weeping Barbados cherry. And it is just looking really nice. There's more to open, they're still pink, but I just don't think this plant has enough energy to just blow up. Another good thing about this, I don't know if you can see, but there's all kinds of little moss starting to grow in there, which makes me super happy because I don't think I bought it with moss in it. But yeah, it's gorgeous, it's really getting there. I still plan on chopping this back, but love the flowers. Another update, which is really upsetting, is actually another flowering update. I had the dwarf pomegranate. Oh, shoot, of course I dropped that. Don't know if that's visible or if it's even in focus. Ooh. This is the blossom that was on it. It fell off. One of the days was really nice out. My air conditioning came on, blasted it with cold air, and well, that's all she wrote. So no longer do I have a blossom on my pomegranate, but still glad it grew. Didn't really want to do that much with it, but that one is now a trash blossom. I don't think I can do anything with it. Last update is on the croton. I think it's the Galaxy croton. These stupid flowers, I love them. They're beautiful. I did put a short up of how this looked, but now they are just, in the way. So I'm going to cut this off, throw it in the trash, and try to clean up all these blossoms because they really do just fall everywhere and they kind of create a mess. I usually cut these off before they even bloom, but this time I didn't, and I regret it. There's now croton flowers and pollen everywhere. There's no, male or female to this. It's just one plant. I don't think it even has the ability to be, self-pollinating, or if it bears fruit at all. So this is it for this one. Yeah, it's all done. So now it's back to just being a regular old, landscaping plant. All right, that is all the updates. Before I get into good plants, do some early projects that I started on. There's a bunch of seeds. I've got cherry, I've got lemon. They've been in my fridge. I don't know if they need cold stratification. I think the cherries do. I also think I'm gonna need to sand off some of the shell of the cherries, but I know that the lemons don't, and I might even have some other seeds in here like apple or something like that. There's ones that aren't characteristically one or the other, although they could be cherry seeds that came out of the pit. But yeah, this is another one of my long-term projects. Since I had success in the past growing my lemon trees from seed, I'm gonna try it again. And worst case scenario, I get some nice little ugly shrubs. So happy for that. And Another early on project is these cuttings. I believe these are from my croton. They do have a whole bunch of stuff hanging off of them, you know, like old, you know, crap, can't remember the name of the thing that the leaves grow off of that stick to the branch. But yeah, I thought this one had good branch in particular. These are nice and thick, they're nice and woody. So I stuck these in some bonsai soil mixed with regular potting soil. I did not fertilize. I don't even think I used any rooting compound. Oh, I did use rooting compound, which is good because I dumped gravel all over my counter because I've got good roots here. I don't know which of these they're from, but I'm really happy about this. I have these in a container where this doesn't touch the bottom of the saucer. So these will be able to grow a little bit more. I might even put this on top of a larger body of soil, almost like a tray, something like this full of soil. This is what it comes in. And see if I can get these to get a little healthier roots. But very pleased with that. Very, very pleased with that. They're not being damaged by being placed directly on the counter. All right, next I will move on to some succulents. I showed you that I had the Portucaria piafra lilliput minima, the super tiny one. This isn't a minima, this is a kaleidoscope, but it is a piafra, I guess. And this one I got not because I love the colors, although I do like the greens here. I'm hoping, because I understand from watching, I think it was Connor, his videos that included Connor, and even, oh shoot, who was it? I think there's someone who's like, it's like Mini Jade is his whole thing. He was saying that with these white ones, because there are purely white leaves, those are always going to be purely white no matter what you do. And I'd also been told from another creator interviewing someone doing a kind of talk that when you fertilize these, they revert to either all white or all green. Now, I don't think I'm at risk of this reverting to all white. And it's got nice thick stems on the inside here. I've got one that's probably almost, I don't know, a centimeter, 3/8 of an inch thick. It's pretty nice. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to trim off these white ones wherever I can, in the hopes that they don't grow back. Get some more green in here, because I do like these regular variegations on the green ones. They're not overly variegated. They've got a lot of good green. And see if I can get these to get rid of that variegation and switch over to just being the white variegation, that is, and switch over to being a more green plant and grow nicely, because I really like the thickness of the trunks in here. I can't show you now because I don't think it'll focus like that, but beautiful plant. Another piafra. So it's my second piafra I've ever had. Had a jade, cat ate it, big deal, not good. Cat was fine, just didn't enjoy its diarrhea. So that was a nice, cheap one that I got. Very inexpensive for this and the other one. The other one was less expensive because the other one was this price. This one is a crassula. So crassula is, there's crassula ovula, something like that. It sounds like I'm describing a body part. Different types of crassula, but jade plant. There's the golem, which is the real long ones. These are ogre's ear. So I've seen these before, I didn't love them, but this one's actually kind of already got a trunk developing. And I think if I keep this going, because it looks like it's growing very well, very healthy. The soil is the right level of moisture. It's got roots out the bottom, so I can't even pull it out. There's no dried up, there's no damage, didn't look like there's any pests on this. If I keep this going, this might make a really cool little bonsai. And the front being probably there, yeah, front being probably there. I'll have to work on minimizing the foliage, but really cool crassula ogre ear. So Shrek. That's what, these are the Shrek ears, All right. I mentioned before a creator that did a ivy forest and how ivy was, it had nice woody stems. I don't often see it even having thicker stems because people don't develop them often. Not saying that they just don't see it very often. Usually it's one of the tanukis, the trickster bonsai, where it's wrapped around a piece of deadwood or something like that. I'm sure I could be wrong on that, but that's just my observation of what I've seen. Doesn't mean it's not out there, just what I've seen. But I was out at the clearance section of my local nursery and I found this for $2, $2 US, which sounds kind of expensive. This is just regular old English ivy. It's been outside, which you can tell by the color, but it's still healthy. I mean, it's got good moisture in the soil. It almost has roots coming at the bottom. But what I really liked is it actually does have some action. It's already chopped and everything. It's got a couple stems here that are sticks, not just, that stupid vine like this. So I'm really excited to see how this one develops. I am going to keep it inside because I think it's seen enough cold weather that it's gone through its dormancy and all that. It shouldn't be dropping these leaves. They should turn red like this and then come back. So excited about this too because this is developed nicely already. And I think that these are all separate. So I'll have 3 specimens that I can work with. And yeah, there are already good healthy roots coming out the bottom. Yeah, so this is super healthy. It doesn't look like it, I'm sure, to everybody, but shoot, for $2 with having a woody hard stem already been chopped, that's what I'm looking for. Still super early on in development. I'm gonna have a long time before I can use this for anything, but those are really cool ones. So that's another new one, English ivy. And this is, because of the creator, Candace over at Bonsai Science. She had a whole bunch of ivies in her Creative Landscape Challenge, but one of them I recognized as having super, super pretty, delicate, deeply lobed, almost like sweet gum with leaves. And I think it was this one. This is a King's Choice ivy. We'll call it King's Choice ivy. It's another ivy just like any. And I've got more vines now than I thought I would, but these leaves just have great shape to them. This one is very, very early on in development, but it's very dense in its growth. I mean, you can't see the soil if you look from there. So that's why I picked this one. There were other ones that weren't quite as healthy, but this one is the one that spoke to me. So we'll see what happens. If I can get this to develop nicely. And again, this could be a couple cuttings, it could be one that's just looped around. But one that I really wanted and I was really excited to find with this level of health. I will be treating this one and the other ivy for pests because, that's what happens with ivies, especially if they're stored in large warehouses, outdoors, indoors, doesn't matter. They can pick up pests pretty easily and spread it to other plants without appearing to be an issue. So I'm going to be doing the dish soap and water trick on this to clean it up as well as the other ivy here. And that's what I do with a lot of my plants, unless, like this one, I'm not concerned. There's very unlikely to be any pests in here. There's no signs of it. So what I'll just do is I will make sure that this one doesn't get pests. All right, so that's some of the littler ones. You might even be able to see the edge of foliage of other ones that I've got. So I'll start on we'll just do the ficus first. So this is a mallsai, a mall bonsai. It didn't come in this container. It came in a little, they called it like a woven ceramic gold pot, whatever. I got it from Lowe's or Home Depot. It was not cheap, but it was on clearance, so I was like, why not? I didn't mind the movement to it. I know a lot of people don't like this super wavy movement, especially not for a ficus. But I think this one at least was somewhat interesting. I have done a little bit of work on it, and as you can see, it's been kind of ailing. I don't know that that's from nutrients so much as being robbed of nutrients. I didn't find scale on this one, although it could have scale. I did have spider mites, so I've had to treat it for that, and it's very likely that I've got other issues with this as far as pests. So I repotted it about 3 months ago. It's been indoors since. It was thriving more in the window, but since I've treated with the soap and water, rinsed it out, and then what I do is I put it on top of an air purifier that blows out lots of air. It dries out the soil real nice, and then it seems to bounce back. So I'm gonna keep up with that cycle of doing my best to really wet it down, clean it up, and then dry it out quickly. And that's how I get, like, this is new growth down here. Pointing stick. So this is new growth down here. I had to rub off a couple more buds. There's a bud up here opposite to this branch that's not super new, but kind of new. I've left some of these lower branches because I really, really want to thicken up the base. it's got funky roots. A lot of these do. They have the roots like that. But this larger one actually has kind of a flat top to it that sits inside here. I've got it covered up now with a bunch of fertilizer and bonsai soil. And if I cut off this smaller root, I wish you could see this. If I cut off the smaller root, then I will definitely have inverse taper here. I think that this is necessary, and I'm just hoping to be able to bury it one day and get more smaller, finer roots coming down around to kind of accent that. As it is now, that smaller root has a lot of roots coming off the bottom of it, so I don't think I can preserve the health of this tree and cut that off. I think it'll just kill it. I think the inverse taper at this point is irreversible, and if there's anything I was going to do, I would have to cut it off low and maybe air layer from, I don't know, here up, and just have this as a separate tree and that as a separate tree, because I know it's got this really exaggerated movement here, and it does a good job of, you know, snaking up. You're probably looking at the front, but if I was to do any kind of chopping, it would be different. It does a good job of snaking up and gradually getting better. I think the leader was originally supposed to be back here, which you can't see well from that. This one had taken over. This one's trying to take over. I'm not happy about it. But there's other things going on here, like a lot of wounds that need to heal right here. I had to carve that down. That was a big old lump, so it looks better now. But some of these are healing nicely. This is healing okay. There's other ones that are healing okay. So I am laying it kind of try to heal. I will probably do what I said as far as soaping it up, making sure there's no pests again, because I'm constantly treating things for pests, drying it out, and I may try to put it on top of the purifier, which again has that low clean fan, put it with the evaporation tray below it, and then a bag over it, so I can have airflow through it, you know, still have air coming out the top, but there'll be a lot more humidity in here, and it may be good to have that humidity as it dries out, and I might get some cool arrow roots. It started some in the past, they didn't take off. So this is my mallsai ficus. Time being, I'm not going to chop it, but it's always something I've entertained, and I even at one point put a zip tie around and thought about laying it, you know, grow up around that zip tie and fatten up above it before I did an air layer. But for now, I'm just gonna let it keep going and see what happens. It's really one where it was so far in a direction of being just exaggerated movement and no real development, just kind of superficial. So I'll be very happy to get it healthy and full, and when summer comes, really be able to consider not only repotting it lower and gain some more roots developing nicely, but also getting all this growth to thicken up this trunk a lot, because that's what my next goal is. I do have a little rock in here, not a little, but little for most. I don't know if I'll ever use it for anything. It's similar to the other rock. It's got pretty good character to it. Not a whole lot of color, but I'm not worried about that. So it's just been sitting in here. And that is the mallsai ficus. Now, I'm gonna save the last two for last. This is another, you know, department store find kind of thing. I loved how thick it is. I know it's got inverse taper here. Not super worried about that. I'm hoping that that will thicken up and everything else. I have taken off some little roots down low, but these were already all cut off. I'll probably try to bury it and do a sort of ground layer up at this widest point. And as it is now, I have not cut off any branches, although I've done some selective pruning to take leaves like this that are pointed in towards the rest of it out, so that things aren't shaded out and so that there's no more leaves that are unnecessary. So like I took that out, but this wasn't getting very much light. You can see that I'm trying to minimize the foliage. So this was the smallest two leaves on that stalk. I wish I could remember the name of the stupid part of the plant that this is, but the smallest two leaves on there. So I cut off the rest and left those two. I've been trying to stick with that because it makes things appear smaller without taking all the foliage off. There are smaller leaves, but really they're trying to grow big. And And now it seems as if it's starting to get more leggy, which is fine because it needs to be a little leggy. But it means I've got to make decisions on things like these two branches, which are right next to each other, and I don't know which one I want to keep, although I'll probably keep the lower one, as long as this part can be filled in by more of the leaves from here. And again, up at the top here, I've got this one in the back. I'll spin it, but these two are kind of close to each other. I really want this one to be the leader because of where it's located, and it'll help to heal the wound here. I'm hoping I can keep this one so it can heal this. So you can kind of almost see there. Leader, one that I want to heal this. I'll probably nibble this down a little bit more. And then this one in the back, which is kind of grown on its own. I'm happy about that. This one I will definitely keep. I just have to keep all my branches coming out away from the center. So I know this is no more impressive than any other one that you could buy at a department store. But this one just, I liked it. I liked the way this particular one looked, even with the funky trunk like this. So I grabbed it. I haven't done a whole lot of work on the trunk itself, although I think I need to. And I'm not sure if there was a branch here that was cut off or if that was a root, because the roots really should have started here. We'll see. So that is, I don't know, my department store, my hardware store money tree. And it's been growing in this terracotta pot really nicely. I may have roots out the bottom. Nope, no roots out the bottom, but it'll be a while before it does that. These don't grow roots quickly to fill out containers, which is proven very well by this money tree. So this is the one that cutting was taken off of. I've been growing this one since it was the size of this branch right here and had one leaf on it. You can see I chopped it. My choice of wound sealant was actually wax. I tried out wax, like, beeswax, candle wax kind of stuff. And I think it was pretty successful. It didn't dry out much below that point. I did wait a little bit before I put it on there. So now I'm getting these branches. I've got these two that you can easily see. I might even use a little bit of wire to space these out. But they're growing nicely. This is all new in the last 3 months because I chopped this in July, I want to say, but it didn't have growth for a while. I just kept watering it, it stayed alive. I've also got a little branch down here that started and is stalled out. Got lots of buds over here, and on the other side here, which may end up being the front, I've got this one that seems to be coming off very horizontal. I'm happy about that. I'm sure it'll turn up again. It experienced a little bit of dryness, but it wasn't bad. And then a little bud next to it that's trying to grow. I am concerned about this healing well, so I may scrape off that little bud. But also you can see I've got a lot of vertical leggy growth. It is under a grow light. So as it gets close to that grow light, of course, its growth gets a little more compact. You can see on this branch on the inside here, very, very leggy, and all of a sudden these two are good. I also think that this one is growing leggy because it's the way that this tree likes to behave. But I'm very, very pleased that this one's growing, only I think that now, after all these months, and with the resiliency that this plant and these plants clearly have, I think it is time for me to do a trim. For two reasons. One, this is now above the grow light. It's growing around the grow light. And although it gets light that way, it's already too leggy, it's got too much growth, and it needs to have that energy redirected somewhere else. It didn't have any dormancy, it doesn't need one. It's got this beautiful trunk. I don't know if you can see how fantastic the texture is on this money tree trunk, considering it grew from no wider than this. So I am going to cut this one down today, much the same as the ficus ogre. This water chestnut, this money tree is going to get cut down. So I'm going to go right here, right above this. So I'm leaving 2 leaves on here. And yeah, I grew it basically from this, a little bit longer, but this size. I'm not going to try to root this as, an in the water cutting. Instead, I'm going to try to let this dry out for a day, and then I'll tuck it into the soil. The soil right now is not super wet or anything, but I think that I need to water this today, and I really don't want to lose this to that. I don't know the difference between this money tree and that money tree, if there's any genetic difference, but you can see the shape on this is a lot more intentional, and that is why I cut it. It already had a chop right above this. I tried to air layer it, didn't work. So we'll see what happens with this, but I'm gonna let it dry out first. I'm just gonna literally lay it on top of the soil. You can see that the leaves had also gotten really big, and there's only 5 of them. So this bottom part of the base has only been doing 4 or 5 leaves on its new growth. The top of it was at 7. So that one, a lot healthier up top. It's actually not even in a place where it gets better light, it's just under counter lights. But considering the leaves are so big, the growth is so leggy, and that it's, already grown past the grow light, it was time for me to take some action on this, just as kind of maintenance pruning. So this one will go right back where it was. I'll give it a good water first. And that is really the second bit of real work that I've done. So I chopped my oldest money tree down to, a couple nodes. There may be more nodes here, but as it is now, I think that I'm where I need to be. I am going to go ahead and scrape off this little baby node here so that I don't have a branch growing there that I have to heal later. You can tell it's a very, very clean trunk. There's been no branches cut off at all. I am concerned with how this wound will heal, but since it's still living up to the tip of it, I'm gonna let it keep going to see if I maybe get another branch higher up that is kind of, not exactly the same place as this, but maybe something over here that's up high. I've been told if you damage the trunk, sometimes that happens. I have not tried that. I'm apprehensive to do so, but that might be what I end up doing to try to get growth up here. As it is right now, I think that redirecting some more energy back down will help as much as anything else. And I will go ahead and seal this wound with some, I use wood glue still. I'm going to get some lipstick as recommended by Tom at Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors. That's really good idea. I feel like if it's something you're willing to put on your body, it's probably not gonna be too bad for the plants. So I'm gonna get some lipstick. I might even go into the store and bring some pieces of plants with me to try to match the color to get it right. But he was saying the gunmetal matches what cut paste would really look like normally. So it's probably better for the plant than wood glue. I like that. And it lasts as long as you need it to last. It's not a thick layer, it's just something the plant can grow through. I mean, I can't say enough about how awesome that idea is. I don't know how expensive lipstick is because I don't buy it very often. But yeah, so I'll seal that up with some wood glue and then I'll get some lipstick soon. So thank you for that, Tom. And last, yeah, this one's a little nerve-wracking for me. This is a umbrella plant, not a dwarf, I don't think. I don't know. Got it for a couple bucks at the store. So I got it because it had really nice, thick roots in it. It did have some arrow roots. I lost 1 or 2 of them in its first trim. You can see it's got a lot of new growth down there. And as new growth comes in, I'm peeling off these old branches. There's one started on here, but I haven't pulled it off yet. The thing that strikes me about this tree is I think it's too tall. And it's really not growing well up here. So again, I will end up sealing this with wood glue, but this is my third bit of work, and this is going to be a real chop, just like the ficus ogre. I'm going to go in pretty low. I'm not going to keep any of this really on. I'm going to go all the way down to here. So now this is separate than this. This isn't growing much at all. So that's, this little baby guy. But this is so thick, I am going to use this as a cutting. I'm going to cut these off. Get it minimized so it's not using too much energy to evaporate water and all that. Also, from what I understand, these are so darn resilient. I can cut off all these leaves, put it in some water, and it'll grow right back again, which is fine. I kind of wanted to. I had been told with these that you should let them dry out before you stick them in any kind of water. I've got a couple baby leaves on here, but otherwise I think this is just kind of an interesting looking branch. If I can get it to root, I've got this main structure already started. This is a nice back branch, and I can of course change my planting angle about. I might get some back budding that gives me a little more branching here so I can have something coming down. But we'll see. I think this is an interesting top, and I think it makes this a much more compact tree. I also need to work to remove all this old foliage, I know, and this and this and this, but as is right now, that gives the rest of the plant a lot more light, makes it a lot more manageable. There's a lot more air. It's gonna be able to reach some of the newer growth up top here. My air really goes up and comes back down again in that room. So I think this is the right call for this plant. I'm hoping this will heal over nice, but again, I'm gonna let this dry out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put that in water for another cutting. So I've got a total of 4 cuttings right now that are gonna be in water. One of which, yeah, I think I showed you the silverberry. Not worried about the silverberry. So again, I stopped counting. Of course, I've got carnage all over the place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more indoor plants. I'm almost done with my indoor plants that are still living. Was watching I showed my outcast, but I was watching a video from another creator, Matt over at Bobcat Bonsai, who I've been recommending to interact with because he's such a nice guy. I've seen that he's really nice. I just have been kind of backed up with everything in my life. You know, I spent all day yesterday working on my car, so I hadn't even caught up on all the YouTube videos of all the other creators that I like to watch, and my own, really. I'm sure I've got a comment that I haven't responded to, but thankfully I don't get that many yet, so it's easy to keep up. But he showed all of his plants that didn't make it. I'm not going to do that yet because I'm not sure how many of my outdoor plants did or did not make it. I'm waiting to see how they bud out. Some of them don't look great, but it's so early. I have them on my balcony, so I think that the fact that they're in containers doesn't make as much of a difference as it would for him. My balcony typically stays 10 to 15 degrees warmer than the rest of the environment around it, which is a really important thing. It hardly ever gets below freezing. When it does, it has to be very, very cold and dark for it to get far below freezing. I've even left my fig and my ponytail palm, oh yeah, I have to show that too. I've left my my ficus and my ponytail palm, both of which are very tropical, should not be out in that weather, outdoors, and they froze, but they didn't freeze to the point where they wouldn't recover. So they both recovered. One's that really big fig, the other one is a ponytail palm that I can show in a different episode. I do have another ficus lyrata fiddly fig in with the rest of these, but it's a much larger plant, so I might just do that and the ponytail together, pop them in here, show them in one episode. But this is episode 11. We had 11 trees, not intentional, but it works out. 11. And let's see, yeah, it's 12:30, same thing. So we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you to everybody. I'm still trying to get the hang of everything as far as I wish I knew how to do the whole, like, pointing at the screen and there's a video there that you want to see. I have no clue how to do that. I've been working on getting my subtitles set up, so I'm sorry to everybody who's out of town. If you can't have captions, subtitles, sometimes I feel like it's difficult to understand me, and it's also hard to watch some videos if you don't have the best hearing and I speak too rapidly. So a little bit of work done, a couple more introductions, some I'm excited about. I know I shouldn't be getting any more plants, but the one that I got, the couple that I got, they're small, they don't take up much space, and they're ones that I don't have to worry about dying as the rest of them die off. Also, things like this ogre ear, I think it's just such a cool looking little plant, and it's going to grow so nicely that it was hard to pass up for the price that it was. For a couple bucks, all of them were a couple dollars. That's just really exciting for me. So thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Please do me the small favor, if you would, comment, like, and subscribe. I plan on continuing to do a new episode every day as much as I can, even if I have to film 2 on one day and release the next. I will continue to make shorts as I can. It Turns out those are very popular. And I'll try to keep you folks updated on everything. This is going to be a very long caption for this video, so if you look in the description, I try to order all the plants in the description in the order that they go. I've been recommended, Gail was giving me the tips to hashtag, or tag, I don't know if hashtag is the same thing for YouTube, but tag all of the plants by their name as close as I could, so that way it's easier for other creators looking for this type of content to find, and to put the names in the descriptions. Very soon it will be time for me to make a playlist of all the introductions, and of course make a playlist for individual types of plants. I probably won't do, a playlist just for crab cactus #1 or coffee tree #7, but I will try to make playlists that make it somewhat organized, and I'll try to stick to the order I've already started in. So I'm going to take all of my descriptions, take all that text, order all my plants so I know kind of where I started, where I'm at, and try to keep them in that order as much as I can for regular maintenance and updates. Even if nothing's happened, it'll be nice to keep them kind of in that order, so that way if you find episode 1 of season 1 when I'm in my 3rd year, it'll kind of have the same plants as it did in episode 1 of the prior year. Of course, you'll be able to look at the playlist and find other episodes that have that plant in it, because I've already touched upon a couple more than once, but I'll try to keep it organized as we move on. I think at this point I'm developing the habit. I'm happy to develop the habit to continue to document my bonsai journey this way. It helps an awful lot to have so many fantastic creators. Matthew at Busy Bonsai, another great creator that I watched his ficus ogre video, was very pleased to watch it. He was, nice and interactive, awesome guy. The tree styler, super nice guy. I could go on and on about all the amazing creators that I've spoken to on YouTube and how supportive they are. One video, if I could recommend anybody to watch, it's very important, especially like Audrey probably has an issue with nitrogen right now, is to watch, I think it's Growing Bonsai with Hille. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Jelle. He put up a video yesterday or something like that about the importance of fertilizer and understanding why you add nitrogen when it's yellow or something like that. I've always just kind of been like, oh, well, it's yellow, I need to add more nitrogen. Not always the case, I know, but he breaks it down very nicely so you understand a little bit better, how plants clean the air, which is good. But really more so on the macro versus micro. People think that macro and micro are more or less important. They're not. It has to do with the quantity the plant uses. But there are so many nutrients that our own bodies use that are in small amounts that are incredibly important and so easy to overdo and cause issues. Vitamin D poisoning is terrible for so many animals. However, it's necessary. We need vitamin D in order to process calcium, and also process the sun, but also I don't know enough about human anatomy, but I know that vitamin D is something we need a little bit of, and we use a lot of it, and too much of it is really bad. Same thing he kind of goes into as far as micro versus macro and how those are important, how they affect the tree directly, and you can kind of draw your own conclusions, but I'm sure if you have any questions about it, you can ask him in that. But fantastic video, super informative, things that I've not known my whole life, but kind of try to guess the best thing to do. He made it so much easier to have an understanding of that. So in the future, not only will I have a better idea of what to look at, as far as more information to find online in relevance to, hey, if I think my plant is lacking nitrogen, it's this type of plant, I'll be able to be more specific in my searches and get more accurate information. But even before that, it's just, everything kind of makes so much more sense. I have a much deeper understanding of how nutrients affect our plants from fertilizer and what fertilizer is good to use. So go ahead and check that out. Can't remember the title of the video, but Growing Bonsai with Hille. And if there's anything I could tell you that you need to watch this week, it's that, because it's incredibly informative, it's brief. He always does a fantastic job with orating all of his videos, so it's interesting to watch, really easy to listen to, and become engaged with his presence. An incredibly knowledgeable person. So if you check out his other videos, there's a lot of information there. but I highly recommend checking out that one video. Thank you again for joining me. Sorry, I got very wordy there. Thank you again for joining me for episode 11, where I introduced 11, or I worked on 11 plants. I had 11 plants in front of me for Taco Bonsai. I'm Taco. Have a great day. And cheers.